Okay, this is the first Guild Q&A episode where we hopefully can answer some questions that you have about the guild and what goes on in it. Since we don't actually have any, per se, questions mailed to us for the first time, we're going to address a common one, especially from newer members. How do I get promoted in the guild? Now, this is going to primarily focus on the ranks from private to operator. Officer ranks, you're selected based on how you perform, and if you're recommended, that's a whole different, separate thing. One thing we like to do is to make our promotion system as fair as possible. And at the same time, being able to invite whoever wants to come to the guild. We do this through a couple different ways. Number one, and we'll bounce around on actual WoW here to take a look. Is that a private in the guild has no repair tab, can only invite members and partake in guild chat, and they have very little bank permissions. This allows us to invite anybody we want and not have to worry about them ninjing us, because a lot of players, WoW is notorious for people to join in a guild, taking what they can get, and then leaving. We want to prevent this, yet still be able not to have some rigid application process that some guilds do have. Now, if you join the guild, after 10 days, you get promoted to corporal. Now, corporals automatically attain a 3 gold per day repair tab. This does a couple of things. This is your first and only free promotion. Most of the time, corporals are going to be lower ranks, newer tunes, so 3 gold is usually enough, probably up to like level 20 to help offset your costs. Now, the only exception to the private rule is if a level 85 joins the guild, they automatically obtain the rank of corporal. And we'll get into that later here. We'll just hit the other ranks real quick. Sergeant gets 15 gold a day. Now, the gunnery sergeant can get 30 gold a day. And can actually create guild events. Master sergeant gets 40 a day. And the operator rank gets 150 gold a day. Now, just to be clear, the operator rank is for members of raid teams and the RBG teams. So that rank, you can actually get to that rank from any other rank. But normally you'd have to raid a couple weeks, RBG a couple weeks, and do other things to prove that you're committed to the team. Then you'd attain that rank. As far as, well, how do you get promoted to sergeant, gunnery sergeant, and master sergeant? Well, good question. On the guild roster, I can look at guild weekly activity. Now, when the reset comes on Tuesday, so late Monday night, one of the guild officers will go in, and the top 20 non-gunnery sergeants and guild activity will get promoted to the next highest rank. What that means is if you're a sergeant or a corporal, you'll get promoted to the next highest rank. If you're in the top 25 that are sergeant or corporal, or even privates get promoted. So that is one way how level 70s and up get promoted quicker than the 10 days. Because just inherently based on the experience given by the dungeons and the quests, higher levels are going to have higher guild activity. So that's one reason there's lower repair tabs at corporal. Because if you're level 70, level 80, you're probably going to be in the top 100 to 75, which is usually how far down we have to go to find those 20 people. On the norm, we go down to about 60 to 70 to be able to find those 20. So if you're not in the top 20 at the end of the week, don't fret. If you're in the top 60, you'll probably get promoted. Now, Master Sergeant is a combination of that. It's you're high in activity, and you've been with the guild at least 6 months. That's more of the people that are part of the guild, help the guild out, but aren't particularly interested in being an officer or raiding or PvPing, whether it's schedule or just personal preference. It doesn't matter. This guild's for everybody. So Master Sergeant's that, hey, you've been around a long time here. Have another rank. So it's more of a a reward for sticking with us. Now, as far as becoming an officer, that's normally random. At the officer meetings, we'll ask for nominations, and once if somebody puts a name forward and others agree, then we'll watch that person for a while. And if we feel after however long we observe them that they're officer material, then we'll make them a sergeant major, which is like the junior officer. And then from the sergeant majors, we promote obviously the captain, lieutenant colonel. So you never know when you're being watched, and you don't even know if you're being watched to potentially be an officer. So always just keep that in mind. And that's also another way of preventing, like, a lot of guilds that fail, is because the GM starts his guild and all his friends become officers, and it's just one big social group and they don't care about anybody else. Nobody can just recommend their friend and auto-promote. Again, somebody gets recommended to be an officer, they're watched, then there's a vote. And it has to be a unanimous vote to make that person even a junior officer, let alone a higher rank. So just be aware that for the most part, we try to keep it fair and objective when promoting people to all the ranks. But just as easily, if you get promoted, you can also get demoted. But the most common one of that would be an operator. If somebody's on a raid team and then they can no longer make it anymore, whether it's they just don't or they have, real life gets in the way, we'll just move them down a rank. It's nothing detrimental, nothing bad. It's just, hey, life happens and this is just a game. So, we move people around. And just be aware of that. So if you're going to commit to something like being an officer or joining a raid team, just be aware that, sometimes if you can't fulfill your obligations, we may have to demote you. But, hey, nobody here is being judgmental, and if life gets in the way, you can always come back and try for that rank later. But that concludes the first Q&A. Hopefully that'll enlighten some of you as to how this place works. And hopefully we'll hear from you guys. Send questions to the GM in game mail or at darlmirrorvisions@yahoo.com, and we'll try to get to your questions as best we can. And hopefully this will be a weekly thing, and the more questions that come in, the more we'll answer them. Also, be sure to check out the guild guide. We do address some things in there, like this week is the vouchers. So, if you got any questions about that, please check all the website for the articles and our YouTube for a lot of the other videos that are coming out to answer your questions.